Seahawks at Raiders preview coming up here on today's show. Mitchell Renz from Chat Sports, ready to walk you through everything that y'all need to know about this upcoming game. And I get it, it's the preseason, but I still hope that everyone watching right now is excited. And if you are, I want you to go ahead and like this video. So when you look at this matchup, Seattle, they're going to be traveling to Allegiant Stadium. For anybody that hasn't seen this stadium yet, you should definitely tune in. It's going to kick off Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Most of y'all I know are on the West Coast, so it's going to be 6 o'clock Pacific time. So what I want you guys to do before I give you some of my personal predictions, go down in the comments section and try to predict the score. With the Raiders going up against the Seahawks, obviously you're not going to get as many starters as you usually would. I'd be absolutely shocked if Derek Carr, Russell Wilson, any of these star players play. However, it is going to be fun because football's back. If you want to go ahead and bet on this game, you can do it at the link that you see below, chatsports.com/bet. Make sure you use that promo code, though, Seahawks125, to get the hookup. So what's coming up here on today's show is I'm going to give you some players to watch on the offensive side of the football, and then we'll wrap up the show with some players to watch on the defensive side of the football for Seattle. Now, many people, when you hear quarterback, you think Russ, let Russ cook. Well, you're not going to get to see Russ cook, but you do get to see Geno Smith, Sean Mannion, and Alex Magoo try to go ahead and make some sort of meal together. Now, obviously, those guys aren't anywhere close to Wilson, but I want to see how the offensive line ultimately protects these three quarterbacks and how they're able to move the football. In terms of the running back position, I expect to see a lot of Collins, Homer, and DJ Dallas. With the injury scares to Chris Carson and Rashad Penny, I don't anticipate seeing those guys out on the field ultimately too much, but what you should be watching is how much of a balanced offense, how much of a balanced attack the Seahawks defense rocks and roll with. So, y'all, more subs equals more videos. It's really as simple as that. This has been one of the fastest growing channels that we've had at Chat Sports, but when you look at some of our other bigger channels, like we have a Cowboy show, we have a Raider show, a 49er show, a Bears show, they have a live video that happens every single week. If you guys want that, go ahead and subscribe. You're getting close, I'm being honest. So not only do we keep you up to date, news and rumors, you're starting to get close to a live show every single week. So make sure you go ahead and subscribe. All right, let's look at the wide receivers now. I would love to see DK. Would love to see Tyler Lockett. Dwayne Eskridge has been battling an injury, but which one of these receivers is going to be able to step up and try to be that reliable number 3? I'm not 100% sure who it's going to be. Who's going to be that David Moore replacement? That's what I'm going to be watching on the offensive side of the football at the wide receiver position. So we're going through the offensive side. You got quarterback, running back, wide receiver. Got some tight ends coming up. Still got some offensive linemen that I've yet to mention. But which player on the offensive side of the football are you going to be watching the closest? So I want you to go down in the comments section and let me know. The player that I'm going to be watching the closest is Stone Forsythe, and the reason is this. There's actually been reports out there that depending on how well he plays could determine whether or not Seattle gives Tre Brown a contract extension. As far as I'm concerned, that's pretty damn big news. Now, I know Russ wants his left tackle, and Forsythe could be technically this third/second stringer, but if he looks horrible in this preseason game, that could make people panic. If he looks actually halfway decent for the 6th round pick, then, maybe the Seahawks are like, well, we don't have to go ahead and extend Brown, though. If you're trying to keep Russell happy, if you're trying to win football games, I'm personally on the Tre Brown train. Let's now look at the tight end position. Gerald Everett recently signed this offseason to after having 1 touchdown last season. Will Dissly, Parkinson, I know Pete Carroll himself has been just hyping up Parkinson, just how big he is. Like, he's 6'7", 250-pounder. I want to see how they use the young rookie in the red zone. Now, earlier on, I was telling you, hey, if you want to go ahead and bet on this game, you can do it. But you got to take advantage of this deal. So it's chatsports.com/bet. Promo code Seahawks125. What does that mean? It means you have to go to this link below, chatsports.com/bet, and you got to use the promo code Seahawks125 to get the 125% deposit bonus. What exactly does that mean? It means when you go ahead and deposit $100 on BetUS, you're going to get $125 for free. Imagine a world where you paid something $100 and they gave you $125 for the next time you came and shopped. Like, that's how good of a deal this is. In fact, it's the best deal on the internet, and if you can find a better one, actually you can't. So don't even try to go ahead and look. When you look at some of these preseason week 1 odds, the Raiders are actually 2.5-point favorites. The Seahawks are 37 and a half is the over-under. So anytime I see this type of game, I'm like, all right, where am I going to put my money? Where should you guys put your money? I'm going to go ahead and say that I actually think the Raiders are going to be able to cover the spread in this one. Usually I look at the backup quarterbacks. It's still not 100% well known if Mariota is going to play or not. I don't believe he will play for the Raiders, but if you don't believe me what I'm about to say, Nathan Peterman last year for the Raiders, he actually looked really good in the preseason. Plus, the Raiders, I think, actually have a little bit more of a deeper roster than the Seahawks, which might surprise some people, but I think the Seahawks are really carried by Russell Wilson. In terms of the over-under at 37.5 points, I'm basically going to bet the under on just about every single game, and it's simple. Offenses aren't usually as up to speed, plus the Raiders' defense has been looking pretty solid. Then also you got a lot of these Seahawks quarterbacks that might not be able to put up as many points. So not only am I going to bet the under, I'm also going to say the Raiders are going to cover the spread. If you want to bet on any of the other preseason football games going on, you can do it at the link that you see below. If you have any questions whatsoever about some other bets that I'm making, please feel free to hit me up on Instagram. I'm at Mitchell Renz 365. So we started off with the offense. Now it's time to go to the defensive side of the football. And if you're a Seahawks fan, this is probably the area that you should be watching a little bit closer. You know the offense is going to be clicking with Ross, DK, and Tyler Lockett. Like, I could probably be the OC and y'all would be fine, right? Unless you're Schottenheimer. But the defense, on the other hand, that's where the bigger issue is. But the defensive guys up front, you just let go of Alden Smith. I don't really anticipate seeing much of Dunlap. You might see some of Benny or Hyder. But what about Taylor Robinson and Collier? You need to be able to get after the quarterback. And for the Raiders, their offensive line, they're going to be playing some of those guys, like some of those starters, a little bit extra in this game. At the defensive tackle spot, you gave Poona Ford a nice little deal, and I think he is one of these up-and-coming defensive tackles, one of the best in the biz, but you need more out of, like, Robert Ndiche. What about Green? What about Lattimore? These are type of players that need to step up to take that next step. Then the linebacker position. The reason why I'm talking about the linebacker position is because Bobby Wagner's an absolute stud. You're hoping Jordan Brooks can take that next step. But there is a name that is not on this team at the current juncture. And when you talk about the top two teams that are the most interested in KJ Wright, probably the top free agent out there, it's been split between the Seahawks and it's split between the Raiders. I'm not saying that he's going to pick based on who wins this game. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but it is something that you should be watching the linebackers. You should also be watching the Raiders linebackers, because if you want KJ Wright, and I imagine you do, then yeah, this is definitely a position you should be watching. So speaking of watching positions closely, we talked about the offense. What about on the defensive side of the football? Where are you going to have your most concentration? What spot, what players are you going to be locked into every single play? For me, it's basically these next three guys coming up here. DJ Reed. DJ Reed was a good cornerback last season, 62 tackles, 2 picks, 6 pass breakups. But there's still this controversy on who's going to be the number one corner. Who's going to be the number two corner? Is it going to be Reed? Is it going to be Witherspoon? Like, they could go with a few different options here, but when you give up, or we're on pace almost to give up the most passing yards in Seahawks history, you need to be able to lock it down a little bit more in the secondary. Now, you went out and you tried to address it in the draft. You only had 3 picks. You drafted Tre Brown in the 4th round out of Oklahoma. He's a good player. He's a little bit raw, but I want to see him be able to take the next step, because usually Seahawks corners aren't built the way Brown is. He's a smaller guy, 5'9", 185 pounds. Usually you see a lot of Seahawks corners being long and lanky. So right now when you're looking at the Seahawks depth chart, I mean, I get the fact that Reed, Witherspoon are probably the top guys there, but I know a lot of y'all would argue Trey Flowers. Demarius Randall's had a very good camp thus far. Jamal Adams, you're not going to see him. Diggs as well. But how can you continue to get better? How can you continue to show? Will it be with some of these plays? Can they force more turnovers? That's probably the top thing that I'm going to be looking for here in this game.